guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Geneva. I go by Genuinely Geneva on all my social media platforms. You can find me on Pinterest, you can find me on Instagram, and you can find me on my blog site www.genuinelygeneva.com. So today's video is going to be a good one. And it's so good because every sewist can relate to this. Whether you are a beginning sewist or whether you have been sewing for a long time, we all go through periods of time where we lose our sewing Sewjo. So you might say, Geneva, what is sewing Sewjo? Sewing Sewjo, or when you lose your sewing Sewjo, is when you lose your enthusiasm to sew. You just don't really desire it as much anymore. You think about it, but you can't quite get yourself to make it to your sewing machine and to start sewing or to start back sewing. So today I have 5 tips for you that I have learned that I use when I lose my sewing Sewjo. I need to tell you that I recently lost my sewing Sewjo, and I've actually lost it probably 2 or 3 times over the course of about 3 months. And so this typically doesn't happen that often. I'll lose it and then I'll get it back. But here recently I have been periodically losing my sewing Sewjo more often than usual. And I think it's because of what we're all going through right now as a country and as a nation, and things are just not what they normally are. So I think that's kind of why I'm losing my sewing Sewjo a little bit more than what I normally would. But today I'm going to share with you 5 tips that always help me get my sewing Sewjo back. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Sewing tip number 1. So when you lose your sewing Sewjo, one thing that you can do that will help you get that Sewjo back is to clean up or reorganize your space. It's always good to start off clean, to start off fresh, and to kind of get motivated just from having a space that you can see and you know and it's organized. All right, tip number 2. So sewing tip, or how to get it back, your sewing Sewjo tip number 2. Finish a work in progress or do a quick sew project. So I kind of wanted to share with you a couple of the projects that I have and how I store them. So if I haven't finished a project and I'm moving on to something else, or I have more than one going on at a time, I put them in Ziploc bags similar to this. And I have the fabric. Sometimes I have the pattern there. It just depends. And I'll put them in bags and I'll store them in my sewing room so that all the pieces are together, and that when I go back to it, everything will be there ready to go when I go back to it. And sometimes when I lose my Sewjo, I'll grab one of the mini bags that I have and I'll start working on a project that is already in progress. Something else that I do is I try to pick quick sew projects. So let's say I want to do something fresh, something new. I want to do something quick. I will get a pattern that I have that doesn't take a long time to do, and I'll jump right into doing that pattern. So I'll share a couple of those with you. McCall's has some great level 1 sewing patterns that are quick sews, and there's so much variety that you can do with this pattern. This is great for like loungewear, or when you just want to make something quick to just wear and maybe you don't even have a lot of fabric. And so this is McCall's 8160. I also have a quick sew, easy to sew pattern from Simplicity, and the pattern number on this one is D0957, but I didn't get this from the pattern drawer. When I got it from the store, I purchased it in. It was on the top, so sometimes the numbers are a little bit off. But if you go to the store and you're looking for the actual pattern number for this particular pattern, it is Simplicity 8647. So tip number 1, clean up your sewing space, reorganize it a little bit. And then tip number 2, finish a work in finish a work in progress, or find an easy quick sew project to do. All right, so that leads us to tip number 3, conduct a stash review. So there's nothing like organizing your fabric, looking through all the fabric that you have, and just getting inspiration based off of your own fabric stash. I tend to open my drawers up and look at the fabric I have and think about, okay, why did I buy this fabric and what can I make from it? And a lot of times that inspires me to make something new. All right, tip number 4, sew in small chunks of time. So I like to sew either in 20-minute increments or 30-minute increments. I'll get up early before work. I'll get up maybe 30 minutes earlier, get ready, get dressed, come into my sewing room, sew for a few minutes before I need to go and start my day. And that kind of helps me get motivated, because if I start in the morning, I'll think about it throughout the day, and that encourages me to get back home and get the things I need to get done for my house and for myself so that I can spend time in the evening sewing once again. Okay, and last but not least, sewing tip number 5, it's okay to take a break. You all, when you lose your sewing Sewjo, it's okay to take a break. I know you see a lot of people around you who are posting their fun makes and their pretty makes, and they seem like they're so enthusiastic and they never stop, but all sewing sewists lose their Sewjo in some form or fashion. It's not uncommon. It's not something that, you know, is only specific to you or specific to me. We all go through those things, and we all can take a break and use some self-care. So think about what your situation is, and if you need to take a break, it's okay. Take the break that you need, and when you're ready, you come right back and start back sewing. So really quickly, I'm going to go right back through all 5 steps. Step number 1 was to clean up your space or reorganize it. Step number 2 was to do a work in progress or a quick sew project. Step number 3 is to conduct a stash review. Look through your fabric and see what you have. Tip number 4, sew in small chunks of time. I like to sew in 20 minutes or 30-minute increments. And then tip number 5, it's okay to take a break. Sometimes we just all need to take a break. So I hope these tips that I have shared with you today help you the way that they have helped me. Comment below if you have any other tips that work for you when you lose your own sewing Sewjo. Let me know. I'd love to hear what those were so that I can add it to my list of things that help inspire and motivate myself. And don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and guess what? I will see you in the next video. Bye.